What is up, Bills fans? This is Brian, episode 2 of the Buffalo Brothers. Today, I am the Buffalo brother, as Jason just had a kid, and he's got so much going on, so I told him, you know what, I'm going to take this one. Hopefully we can get him back here next time, but hey, you get to hang out with me for the next, half hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours, however long I want this to be, because it's my podcast. I do what I want. So yeah, but I'm excited, guys. Just a couple things that we're going to do today. We're going to just do a position-by-position breakdown. I'm going to talk about the starters, a little bit of the depth, maybe some training camp names to take a look at. Then we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk a little bit about each opponent that we've got coming up this season and how we stack up against them. I'll give you some predictions of how I feel like the season is going to go. And then last thing, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper on statistically Josh Allen running the ball. It was a big part of the offense last year, and it could be a huge part of how he functions in Brian Daboll's offense. So, hey, let's just jump right in. And you know what? Let's just start with the defense. This was the strongest part of our team last year, the strongest unit. And our secondary actually was really, really, really strong. We got a lot of contributions from guys that we didn't actually expect to get contributions from. But let's talk about our safeties. I think we have potentially a top 3 safety duo in the league. Definitely under-repped, definitely not respected by the rest of the league, but I'm telling you, it doesn't get much better than Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. I grew up in Wisconsin. I lived in Wisconsin when Micah Hyde was drafted by the Packers. I saw him at training camp in person, and I knew the guy was special. I never thought in a million years that he would be a Buffalo Bill. I am a huge Micah Hyde fan. He's just a ball hawk, man. He gets after it. And then we pick up Jordan Poyer a couple years ago from Cleveland, and honestly, I didn't really know who he was. I wasn't really familiar. First of all, he was in Cleveland. If you haven't checked his girlfriend out on Instagram, I would highly recommend. I think it's Rachel Bush. Go give her a look. But Hyde and Poyer have been super solid on the back end. Really just ball hawking safeties. Poyer has a knack for picking off big time quarterbacks. He had a pick 6 against New England. It was either last year or a few years ago, and Tony Romo about lost his mind during that game. It was pretty funny. And Micah Hyde, that year we went to the playoffs, I'm just thinking of those interceptions against Atlanta that he had. He seems to really love to pick off Ryan Tannehill, which I'm very disappointed that Ryan Tannehill is not in Miami anymore. I feel about Ryan Tannehill like Packer fans and Lion fans and Vikings fans felt when Jay Cutler left the Bears. But I really love our safeties. I know we have Raphael Bush, and then we have Maurice from Seattle that we brought in. I think he might just be more of a hybrid linebacker. I don't really see a whole lot of competition going on there. Just another year in the system, in the McDermott defense. I think it's going to do wonders for Hyde and Poyer. And I expect big things. Honestly, I could see 5+ interceptions from both of them this year, and I don't think that's a huge stretch. Something that's really interesting, moving on here to our corners, is some of these no-name late-round guys or undrafted guys really stepping up, and it's a good problem to have because now we have a really crowded cornerback room. With Trey White obviously leading the way. He's our number 1 guy. He's our lockdown corner. He did struggle against some speed guys last year. Robbie Anderson got the best of him a few times, and I'm thinking of the Lions game with Kenny Golladay had a career day against Trey. But for the most part, Trey has been locked down since his rookie year, really. He was second in Defensive Rookie of the Year. Now, I think he should have won. Marshawn Lattimore's a heck of a corner, but I'm obviously partial to Trey White. He's our number 1 guy. He's going to be following the best receivers all around the field. But then after that, you have a bunch of guys who could legitimately play for this number 2 position. Levi Wallace was one of the highest rated, if not the highest rated rookie corner last year from Pro Football Focus. But he outplayed, totally undrafted guy, outplayed his position. Really, I feel like he's the incumbent right now, and I really feel like it's Levi Wallace's job to lose. However, we just brought in Kevin Johnson, who was a first-round pick in 2015. for the Houston Texans. Now, all the talent in the world this guy had coming out of college, but he can't stay healthy. And so I think he's just kind of, you bring this guy in like a Kevin Johnson in to compete for the number 2 position. If the guy can stay healthy, he is going to be a great addition to our cornerbacks. Now, we also brought back EJ Gaines, which honestly isn't a huge deal. I think he's a solid number 4 slot guy. I don't see him doing much more than that. But Taron Johnson is a guy that he hurt his shoulder, but he was playing really, really well as a rookie. I do remember he had a sack against Aaron Rodgers in the Packer game. He had a couple interceptions. He got hurt, unfortunately, kind of stunted his growth a little bit. He's going to come back healthy. He could push Levi Wallace for the number 2 job. I definitely think he could definitely be in the slot. I really see him more as a nickel corner anyways. A little bit smaller in size, totally, but I do love Taron Johnson. I love Levi Wallace. I don't know much about Kevin Johnson. We'll see. He was a high first-round pick. And then EJ Gaines is just nice, solid depth. And I know that there are some guys behind them, but I don't feel like they're worth noting right now. But I love our safeties. I love our corners. Our back end is great. It's really the strength of our defense and the fact that McDermott is a defensive-minded guy. He has those guys coached up, and we kind of took a little bit of a dip as far as turnovers go this last year, but I can, with another year in the system, I really see interceptions going way up this year. Moving on, a really intriguing position group for us is the linebackers, Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmunds, Lorenzo Alexander. You got a couple of young guys in there, and then you got the grizzled vet. I don't know how much more Alexander has with Kyle Williams leaving. We needed some leadership in that defensive locker room, and Alexander's the guy. Alexander's been the guy the last couple of years as far as leadership goes with Kyle Williams, but Kyle's not there anymore. And if anything, Alexander at 36 years old is going to show these guys how to be pros. Here's the thing. He's not just a locker room guy. He was one of the best outside linebackers last year, according to Pro Football Focus. His play has been great. He had an interception against the Texans, a bunch of sacks, bunch of forced fumbles. Alexander can still ball. Now, Matt Milano is a star in the making. A lot of people, if you don't follow Bills football, you probably don't know who he is. He got hurt at the end of last year. I think he broke his leg. And this guy, guys, he is an absolute star. I could see Matt Milano being a Pro Bowl player in the next year or two. I think the world is going to find out exactly how good he is this coming season. His coverage skills are fantastic. He played safety at Boston College. They converted him to an outside linebacker in our 4-3, and I think it was a 5th round pick, and he's just really outplayed his position. And then the quarterback of our defense, Tremaine Edmunds. We traded up for him a couple years ago in the Josh Allen draft. And I love Tremaine Edmunds. He was like 19 years old when we got him. He's still young. He's still one of the youngest players in the NFL. He struggled a little bit in coverage last year. Looked a little bit lost at times, but he's a physical specimen. He has the pedigree. I'm not worried about him at all. I think he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. He might not be Luke Kuechly, but he's going to be up there. I'm super excited about Tremaine Edmunds going forward. Defensive line gets interesting. You got Star Lotulelei, who we're paying a lot of money to, and it's interesting because we're not running a 3-4. We are running a 4-3 for the most part, and Star almost acts as that nose tackle in a 3-4 in our 4-3. He eats up these double teams and allows guys like Jerry Hughes, Trent Murphy to get on the edge. He also frees up Edmunds and Milano to make tackles. Star, I think, is overpaid for what he does, but what he does do it very well. And so on first and second down, on running down, Star will be in the game, and then I believe he will get rotated out. Now, we lost Kyle Williams, which, as a Bills fan, that's a big deal. He was the heart and soul of the city. He was the heart and soul of the team. He was everything for Buffalo, and he retired. And there was only one guy in the draft that I thought maybe could begin to possibly replace Kyle Williams, and that was Ed Oliver. Defensive tackle out of Houston. This guy is Aaron Donald 2.0. I don't know if he's going to be Aaron Donald, but if we can get Ed Oliver to be 75% of Aaron Donald, that's going to be a home run every time. I'm super excited. This guy wants to be in Buffalo, and that's a big deal for there's a perception out there that people don't want to come to Buffalo, but this guy wanted to be here. And so you've got Star Lotulelei there on the inside, you got Ed Oliver on the inside, and then you've got the Phillips boys. You've got Jordan Phillips, who was a second round pick of the Dolphins, who they cut, and we picked him up. I like him. He's got a chip on his shoulder, but he needs to reel in the penalties a little bit. And then you got Harrison Phillips, who was kind of like the replacement for Kyle Williams. He had a little bit of a disappointing rookie year. There's a lot of development to go. On passing downs, I could see the Ed Oliver and Harrison Phillips in there at the D-tackle positions. Totally feasible. But I'm very excited for this defensive line. We did get younger. I would like to see us move on from Star Lotulelei with his huge contract. I think that there's better money for us to spend, and he's up there in age. There's not much development left in him. I'd like to get some younger guys in there that can push the pocket. And Star does, but he's more in there for run stuffing and to picking up double teams to open it up for the rest of everybody else. And then lastly, there on the defense, we're looking at Jerry Hughes, Shaq Lawson, and Trent Murphy. We just extended Jerry 2 more years, so we got him. He is quietly one of the best defensive ends in the leagues. His numbers don't always show it, but his pressure, he led the league in pressure efficiency. He gets at the quarterback. He gets pressure. He doesn't always get to the quarterback as far as sacks go and forced fumbles, but he gets to the quarterback. I'm thinking of the Minnesota game where he absolutely ate Kirk Cousins for lunch. It was just beautiful, beautiful thing. The game where we were 16-point underdogs and then go win by 3 touchdowns. It was a great game. Jerry Hughes is honestly like he's just kind of another diamond in the rough. You don't really know about him unless you're in Buffalo, but Jerry Hughes is one of the better defensive ends in the game right now, and I believe he's 30 years old. He's extended 2 years. We're good. I think he's definitely got at least 2 years of prime football left in him. And then interesting, Shaq Lawson, we didn't pick up his option, so this is a contract year for him. Man, I hope that lights a fire underneath him. He has all the talent in the world. He just hasn't really been able to put it together. I like Shaq. I actually bought a Shaq Lawson jersey his rookie year. I really like him, but it just isn't quite there. He'll show flashes of brilliance, but Shaq needs to put it together. This is, man, get your butt in gear. We'll let you test free agency because it's just not working. And then Trent Murphy, he had the ACL back a couple years ago. He actually came out and said he wasn't fully recovered from that even this last year. But he was a double-digit sack guy in Washington when healthy, and I believe that he can recreate that this year. If you got Jerry and Trent Murphy coming off the edge with Ed Oliver and Harrison Phillips there on the nose, that's a pretty great, awesome, young defensive line, and we have a lot to be excited about in that way. But yeah, this defense, this McDermott defense is going into year 3 here. This might be the best defense McDermott has had, and I'm talking about the one in Carolina too that he had that went 15-1. As far as collectively, we don't have a ton of superstars. You got Trey White and you got Ed Oliver, who is to be seen, and Hyde is kind of that borderline star. But listen, this defense is solid from top to bottom. If you just look at the numbers from last year, you're going to see some outliers. We had that game against Baltimore. They blew us out. Indianapolis, Chicago. There are some games with some 30, 40 plus points on the board. But it doesn't really, if you take it in context, it doesn't really account for how much the offense put the defense in a bad position. That was, and that's really why those numbers are skewed. Our defense is a lot better than what we saw on paper. But I'm excited about the defense. I think this is the strength of our team. This is what we're going to lean on. It's our defense that's going to win us games. But so we're going to move on here to the offense. The offense is interesting because we just blew the whole thing up. We just said, you know what, we're going to start over. We had one of the worst offensive lines last year. You know what, Brandon Beane said, you know what, we're just going to go buy an offensive line. Yeah, we'll draft one there in the second, but we're going to go buy an offensive line. And I believe it was 7 offensive linemen they brought in, and I think 4 4 of the 5 offensive line positions, starting positions this year, will either have been acquired via free agency or the draft. It's unreal. We just absolutely cleaned house, and we needed to. It was the worst offensive line that I've seen. We had Josh running for his life, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But here, there's a lot of mixing and matching that's going to happen between now and training camp. And here's what I think, and here's what I see as far as what our offensive line looks like. Dion Dawkins has played left tackle the last few years. He struggled a little bit last year, and as the offensive line was bad in general, he struggled on an island himself. I feel like he's more of a right tackle, and if we had a better option at left tackle, I think we would have slid him over there. And I think because of the additions that we have, Dion Dawkins, I have him sliding in at right tackle this year. I think that's a better fit for him. He's more of a mauler. He's less of a technician, less of a pass protector. I really like Dion Dawkins at right tackle moving forward, to be honest with you. And you know what? If he doesn't put it together, he's another guy that's on a rookie contract that it's kind of like the Shaq Lawson thing. Man, you really need to put it together. Or, we're going to draft somebody else. We're going to pick up somebody else. And Brandon Beane has shown that he's not afraid to go make splashy free agent, especially in bulk here. Dion Dawkins, I have him slotted in at right tackle week 1. The right guard, a guy who was drafted in the 2nd round, who projected to actually be right tackle, and I think we could slide him out there eventually. But I got Cody Ford, the offensive lineman from Oklahoma that we drafted in the 2nd, traded up for, who I love. We had a 1st-round grade on this guy. This guy easily could have been a 1st-round pick. Slide him in at right guard, allow him to learn and kind of deal with the NFL. He is a large human being. I think that his size will allow him to translate to the next level. He's not going to get bowled over. He's not going to get pushed back. He is a bully. He is what we've been missing with Eric Wood and Richie Incognito. Just gone. He is that attitude that we need back there. One of my favorite pickups that we did in this last year, it's one of my favorite free agent acquisitions that we've had in a long time. Our center, and we just plug him in. There's no debate. We got the best center in football, Mitch Morse, who was Patrick Mahomes' center in Kansas City last year. This guy's a stud. I hope we paid him a lot of money, and as we should have. Lock him down for however long we need to. Josh needs a guy that he can go to. We don't have Eric Wood. He's not walking in the door anymore. Mitch Morse is the answer at center going forward, and I'm super excited about him. The left guard position, I think we're going to go Quinton Spann. I think he was one of the best free agents available from Tennessee when we picked him up. And, I don't know, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about him. I do know that he is a very solid left guard. I do know that he holds up in pass protection fairly well as well. And then lastly, left tackle, Ty Nishke from Washington, free agent that we picked up. I watched a couple videos on him, how he manhandled Jadeveon Clowney. The dude is just awesome. Highly super excited about that. And then we got some depth. Waddle from New England, Feliciano, Spencer Long. I think those guys are going to compete for depth. But I think those 5 positions right there are going to be the starting offensive line for the Bills. And actually, it's not a horrible offensive line for considering what we're dealing with. We got 1 high draft pick, 1 veteran, or 1 veteran with us, and then 3 guys that we're able to bring in and plug and play. So offensive line can't be any worse than last year. They can only go up, and that's going to help everything else. The offensive line giving Josh time, making holes for Shady and Frank and Singletary. It's going to help the defense because the offensive line is going to help us stay on the field longer. You could argue that this unit right here is the most important unit in the whole thing, almost as important as your quarterback, because you could have Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers back there, but if you have nobody to protect them, it doesn't matter. So yeah, moving on to a position group that I'm not super excited about because we have a bunch of no-namers, and there's our tight ends. Let's see what Dawson Knox can do. I have him starting week 1. We brought in Tyler Kroft, but dude couldn't stay healthy. I mean, honestly, that's just been his kind of thing all year, or his whole career, really, as he can't stay healthy. He broke his foot. He'll be out a while. Dawson Knox is kind of that vertical tight end. Super happy we got rid of Charles Clay and his bloated contract. I think that drop in the end zone against Miami was kind of the last straw for Charles Clay. He just kind of got a case of the dropsies this year, and I was ready to move on with him at the beginning of last year. But Dawson Knox, Mississippi, Ole Miss. He came from Ole Miss. The hard part is he didn't have any college stats, really, because he was playing in an offense with 3 draft pick receivers and an offense that didn't utilize the tight end. But this guy is a Jimmy Graham-esque. I'm not saying he's Jimmy Graham. He's but body type and speed. A lot of speed. He's a little bit more slender. He probably could use some help in the blocking game. But I got him slotted in as the number 1 tight end. We brought back Lee Smith, my favorite run blocking tight end. That's an awesome pickup. I think that's underrated. He doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but he is awesome. Run blocker, one of the best in the league, and we needed help, especially with our revamped offensive line, to put Lee Smith kind of in our 11 personnel and allow him to run block on those stretch plays is going to be really, really huge. And then I got Kroom making the team. I think Jason Kroom shows flashes nice last year. I don't think he's ready to be any sort of real playing time, but I could see Kroom doing some things in training camp and making the team this way. Moving on, we got our receiver group. This is also interesting because you don't really have a number 1 guy here. You've got a bunch of number 2s and number 3s and number 4s, and I think you're going to see a lot of production by committee. Now, based on who Josh is and based on Josh's arm, you're going to default towards the speed guys, honestly. So John Brown from Baltimore, huge pickup. Robert Foster, undrafted rookie, was one of the top receivers the last quarter of the season last year. Zay Jones coming into his 3rd season. This is a make it or break it year for Zay, but I really believe in Zay, but he's got to show up. Cole Beasley from the Cowboys. I like what Brandon Beane is building. I like what Brian Daboll has. It feels very New England as far as the offense goes. Short, fast, quick guys that get in and out of cuts. I think Beasley could be Josh's best friend because Beasley knows how to get open. That's his best thing. And if Josh, as long as his accuracy can pick up a little bit and he can hit Beasley in stride on those quick outs or in those flat routes and in timing, in rhythm, Beasley's going to do a lot of damage. Now he's 30 years old. He's not the long-term answer, but he's 2 years. Beasley's here. I'm very excited. I've got making the team basically. I've got John Brown, Robert Foster, Cole Beasley, Zay Jones, and then I got Roberts, the kick returner, and then I've got. I'm debating. I think we're going to carry 6, but I'm not sure if it's going to be Sills, the undrafted, or Duke Williams from Canada. Either one of those guys can make the team. The other one make the practice squad. I just worry that another team would snag either one of those off the practice squad. Receivers, one of those things where we can't be any worse than we were last year. I think the fact that we were so bad, Kelvin Benjamin and Andre Holmes gone. You had Zay Jones and Robert Foster and Isaiah McKenzie as your top 3 guys. With a rookie quarter, it's just tough, man. Like, you don't have any experience in receiver. You didn't have any experience at quarterback, and it was tough. And so we'll see. I like John Brown. I just want to see that first play, week 1 against the Jets. I just want to see a 70-yard bomb, just even to try one with John Brown, just to show the league and to show the rest of the division, listen, we got some speed and we have the best arm in the NFL. Yes, Josh's arm is better than Patrick Mahomes. I don't care what anybody says. It is true. Yeah, and then running backs, McCoy, Gore, Singletary, Yeldon. I'll be honest with you, Frank Gore is great and he's nice, but he's like a million years old. I think the leadership is nice. I wasn't a huge fan of the pickup, especially if you're going to pick up TJ Yeldon, who I think is going to be, can be a very serviceable back. He's not a stud, he's not an all-star, but he's serviceable. I'll be honest with you, there's no way. I don't know if they're going to carry 4 running backs, and I think Yeldon may be the odd man out, to be honest with you. because they're not cutting Singletary, they're not cutting McCoy, and they're not cutting Gore this year. But I think Yeldon may be the guy out. Marcus Murphy's there and Keith Ford. I think they're both gone this year for sure. Running backs will be interesting. I mean, the running back production is directly tied to how bad the offensive line played last year, and that's the problem. Is that it was the production was down last year. McCoy 161 rushes, 514 yards, 3 TDs, 3.3 yards a carry, all career lows for McCoy. I hope he's still got it. I really hope it was an offensive line issue and not an age issue. But he's getting up there in age, and he is kind of a quick, shifty back. And man, if he loses a step, he doesn't have a lot of straight line speed to begin with. But we'll see. I'm really hyped up on this Singletary kid. He's LaShawn McCoy, but 10, 12 years younger. So we'll see what happens. I really could see by week 8, week 9, week 10, Singletary getting a bulk of the carries. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then the last thing I want to talk about here with our position breakdowns is the quarterback position, obviously. And I'm just going to mention the backups here real quick because I want to spend some time on Josh Allen. But Matt Barkley, very serviceable backup, was with that Jets game last year, where he threw a touchdown to Deion Dawkins. We came out firing, and he was throwing bombs to Zay and Foster, and McCoy had a good game, and kind of solidified his spot with Derek Anderson leaving or retiring, really. I like Barkley. He's serviceable. He's probably not going to win you a ton of games, but he's not going to lose you a ton of games either. He's there, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then Jackson from Buffalo, University of Buffalo. Big, tall, strong arm. Reminds me of Josh Allen a lot. Very mobile. Honestly, I don't see us carrying 3 quarterbacks, but I would hate to see Jackson get plucked off the practice squad. So we'll see about that. But that's I want to transition out of that. Obviously Josh Allen is our quarterback, and I want to spend some time talking about not so much Josh's arm, although we can get into that a little bit, but Josh's legs. And here's what's interesting. Josh only played 12 games last year, and if you're kind of looking at that a bubble, like, oh, well, he rushes so much, he must have gotten hurt. Well, actually, he got hurt on a pass play. It wasn't even him rushing. There was at no point where he got hurt rushing. He was able to get down when he needed to get down, and he didn't take a lot of hits. Or at least big hits that hurt. His injury was against the Texans, and he got hit in the pocket on a strike. He threw an absolute strike to Kelvin Benjamin. Probably the only thing Benjamin did good that year was catch that pass. But I want to talk about Josh's production on the ground and how that might translate to this year. It's I don't think people fully understand how special his stats were rushing last year. So what I did is I took his rushes. He had 89 rushes for 631 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. Listen, he had more rushing yards than Dalvin Cook, Dion Lewis, and Latavius Murray. Josh Allen ranked 31st in the league among all players in rushing yards. The only quarterback that had more, and it was only like 50 yards more, was Lamar Jackson, and he's essentially a running back. So he had just less rushing yards than Mark Ingram and Isaiah Crowell. That's how efficient. And he only played 12 games. You have to understand, there was a 3-week stretch where the only player that had more rushing yards than Josh Allen was Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott. The dude can run. Now, what I did is I prorated his numbers as if he were to have played 16 games, and it turns out to 108 rushes, 841 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Do you understand that Michael Vick only ran for 841 yards twice in his entire career? If you put Josh Allen, if you plug those numbers in to the best rushing seasons of all time, Josh Allen last year had the 6th best rushing performance of all time. Of any quarterback. Unreal. So we look 118 rushes, 841 yards, 11 touchdowns if he stays on that pace for 16 games. Now, his 52% completion needs to come way up. Needs to get to closer to 60. I think guys like Beasley is going to help him do that with shorter passes. 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions was not good. There was times where he would play hero ball, and he would just, I'm thinking the Jets game, I'm thinking the Packer game, that he would just throw the ball up, and it was just like, what are you doing, Josh? And I think he is learning from that. I watched the Chris Sims interview with him, and he's growing up a little bit. You can see the maturity and the leadership in his eyes, and I really feel like he's going to make better decisions this year. But so if we were to extrapolate his stats out, passing stats out, as if he played 16 games, 2,765 yards, 13 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Not great, but he's a rookie on a bad team, okay? I have high expectations for Josh Allen this year. I'm thinking I need to see 3,500 yards from him, 20 touchdowns, and 10 picks. Like, that to me will be a successful season, and I think he has the capacity to do it. It's just a matter of, can the offensive line gel? Can the offensive line give him time? Can those receivers get open? Can guys like John Brown and Robert Foster take the top off the defense where we can get those chunk plays where he can just show off his God-given ability and just whip the ball 60 yards down the field? You're not going to run with John Brown for 60 yards. I'm sorry, you're not going to do it. There's no DB in this league that's going to keep up with both Foster and Brown running go routes down the end. And the great part is they're going to be running go routes, and Beasley's going to be running little whip routes on the inside. And he's going to be open because the defensive safeties are going to have to play so far off because of the speed that we have on the outside. It's going to open things up in the running game. It's going to open things up in the screen game. I think that what Brandon Beane is building right now, with the speed that we have on offense, with Josh Allen's abilities and the offensive line fix, we're building a winner. Our defense is there. Our defense, I believe, is elite. Our offense has to come along, and I don't believe we're done rebuilding. But I believe this is going to be the year where we're going to find out, hey, are we going to be in rebuild mode for 2 more seasons or just 1 more season? I believe that the Bills 2020 are, I think we're winning the division 2020. I don't think we're there yet. I think we could get to 10 wins, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But everything is going to rise and fall on Josh Allen's ability to, 1, make plays, 2, stay healthy, and 3, not make mistakes. It's great analysis, right? Because that's every quarterback. But seriously, if Josh can do that, we have enough pieces around him to get by. We have a more talented team than the team 2 years ago that went to the playoffs. I'm just saying, Josh, this is on you. This is your time. Listen, you don't have the greatest weapons in the world. I understand that. But we're probably a weapon or 2 away for you to really, really be there. But I think right now the weapons that we have are very serviceable. I am so excited to see the speed that we got going on offense. And who knows, if this Dawson Knox kid can turn into Jimmy Graham, it's just going to be that much better for Josh. That much better. Just stay on the field, dude. Don't get hurt. Protect your body. Listen, if this 52% completion can go up closer to 60%, listen, I can live with less runs. You play 16 games, get your completion percentage up to 60, keep the interceptions down, don't put our defense in a bad position. I can live with it. I can live with it. 3,500 yards, man, 20 touchdowns, 10 picks. Give us that. We're going to the playoffs. That's all we need. But I'm off my soapbox now. We're going to move on. We got a game by game. I'm just going to go through. We're going to go through each game that we got coming up this season. And we're going to talk, and I actually haven't even, I wrote the games down, but I haven't even thought through these, so we're going to just kind of do this together, and we're going to see. But we open up week 1 at the Jets, which is going to be really interesting. You got Sam Darnold year 2, you've got Le'Veon Bell, CJ Mosley, a lot of free agents came over. The Jets spent a lot of money in the offseason, but they're still the Jets, man. I'm not a Sam Darnold believer. Sam Darnold threw for a bunch of yards and threw for a bunch of picks. We beat him once. They beat us once. At the Jets opening day, I think that the Jets are going to underestimate us, and I say that we win that game 27-20 against at the Jets. Week 2 at the Giants. I'm just going to throw a W on that. I don't know who's starting for the Giants. It's probably Eli. Daniel Jones, I don't know what they were doing drafting him at 6th overall. He won't be ready week 1. I don't know if he'll be ready, year 3. I don't see him as an NFL quarterback, but the only thing the Giants have going for them, Odell is gone, Olivier Vernon's gone, Saquon Barkley's it. And listen, our defense is the best thing that we have going for us. I think we don't stop Saquon, but we slow him down. I think we're going to say Buffalo wins 17-3. Home opener against the Bengals. The Bengals defense is bad, like just plain bad. They got a new coach. They got a new everything. They don't have a whole lot going on for them. I know AJ Green wants out. I think the Bengals win 4 games this year, and this is not one of them. Buffalo wins 31-17. So 3-0. Hey, listen, I'll take it. Obviously, you can't be better than that. But we've been 3-0. We've been 5-0. Trent Edwards. Ryan Fitzpatrick. We've started the seasons hot, so let's not, get too excited here. But hey, listen, 3-0 is good. We always want, if you can go 3-1 in each 4 quarters, we'll be good. Week 4 against the Pats, I just don't think we're there yet. I'll be honest with you. Home against the Pats, even. I'm going to say it's a loss. It's still Tom Brady, and he still runs the division. And as much as I'm a homer, I'm also a realist. I'm going to say we're going to lose this game. Patriots 31, Buffalo 20. It's probably not going to be that close. But you know what? I think this is the last year that the Pats run the division. I think Buffalo 2020, you're going to see us sweep in New England. Let's see. So week 5 at the Titans. It's a toss-up for me. I think both teams are up and coming. Marcus Mariota isn't great. And they just picked up Ryan Tannehill, so I don't know what that was all about. I don't know if they're planning on starting Tannehill or if they want to just make him the backup. We beat the Titans last year, and the Titans haven't done a whole lot to improve their team, and we didn't have a good team last year. I say it's going to be a defensive struggle. I say the Bills win 17-14 on a Stephen Hauschka field goal. Then we got a bye. It's always good to have a bye. We win our bye every year. So we have the bye. So we're looking at 4-1 going into the bye, which, man, I'd take that every year. Every year I'd take that. So then, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Week 7, we got the Finns at home. That's a win. I think they're garbage, 38-6. It's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick or Josh Rosen, I think, whatever. Eagles, I think the Eagles are going to give us a lot of trouble. I think it's going to be closer than people expect. I'll say 24-17 Eagles, but in a close, hard-fought game. I think Carson Wentz is going to come out with a vengeance. I think it's going to be good there. Let's see here. Washington Redskins. I don't even know who's starting at quarterback. Is it Alex Smith who wants to come back? It's probably Dwayne Haskins. I think that we win that game 28-14. Don't really see it to being that close. Now, here's an interesting one. Here is the interesting one. Week 10 at Cleveland. Now, obviously, you just write in Cleveland as a win every year, but not this year. I think Baker and Odell and Jarvis Landry, I think it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a shootout. I really do. I think both quarterbacks are going to come out firing, want to outdo each other. For right now, I'm going to give the edge to Cleveland just because of their offensive weapons. I'm going to say Cleveland 42, Buffalo 38 in a barn burner shootout style. Josh Allen, throwing for 4 touchdowns, rushing for 80 yards, something crazy. So that's going to be a loss there. At Miami, win. I'm going to say 17-0. We're going to blank the Dolphins at home, in their home. They're just bad. They're going to be packing it in by that time anyways. Let's see here. Week 12 at Denver. Denver's winning 2 games this year. I think they got Flacco, but I think by this time, Denver's going to be out of it, and they're going to start Locke. I'm going to say we're going to win 24-16. Week 13, Thanksgiving at the Cowboys. We don't have a primetime game this year except Thanksgiving. And it's the Cowboys. So, man, as much as I would love to just living in Dallas last 4 years, I actually plan on going to this game. it would be wonderful to beat the Cowboys. I'm so torn. I think the Cowboys have just a little bit more talent than we do. I think Josh probably struggles in this game as a primetime game. I'm going to say we lose this game 23-13 in Dallas. If it was in Buffalo, it might be a little bit different of a story. All right, last 3 games of the season. Home against the Ravens. That defense is legitimate. Our defense is legitimate. And both of them have running quarterbacks. I am going to say Buffalo upsets the Ravens at home 12-9 in the battle of the field goals. Week 15 at the Steelers. I think that they're dysfunctional. I think that Juju is overrated. James Conner is good, all that stuff, but losing all of that. Big Ben's getting older. Tomlin just isn't really that good of a coach. Buffalo wins 17-10. Week 16 at New England. Yeah, we're going to lose that one. So I say, let's see. Yeah, we're going to lose that one 34-24. And then lastly, at home against the Jets, win. It's the Jets again. I think that we're going to sweep them. And it's going to be 17-7 against the Jets. Let's total this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That is 11-5, my friends. And that gets us into the playoffs. Now, I still think New England probably wins the division 12-4, 13-3, something like that. And they sweep us, so they're going to hold all the tiebreakers. But obviously, I'm a homer. I want it to happen. I think 11-5 is probably our ceiling. Although, and obviously, I'm going to be generous on these predictions towards Buffalo. I think we could go anywhere between 9-7 and 11-5. There's always a weird game every year that we win that we shouldn't have won, or that we lose that we should have won. It all evens itself out. But I think that we can go 11-5. Very excited for the season. Very excited for training camp to see what's coming out down the pipe. But it's going to be good. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and share and follow and all of those good things. Subscribe to our channel. I'll drop links and all of that good stuff. But hey, thanks for hanging with me today. Hopefully we can have Jason next time. But yeah, hey guys, Buffalo Brothers, I'll see y'all later. I'm out.